They whispered that she was broken, that her silence meant defeat, that her scars were shameful and her tears were weakness, but they didn't realize she was only becoming. She was shedding the weight of pain, walking through the fire, and learning to rise in a world that once tried to bury her. And when a woman heals, truly heals, she becomes someone the world can no longer control, predict, or break. A healed woman is not who she used to be. She doesn't flinch when criticized. She doesn't chase closure from those who hurt her. She doesn't explain her boundaries or ask permission to be powerful, because now she owns her story. She has rewritten the narrative with strength, resilience, and clarity. And that's what makes her dangerous, not in the way of harm, but in the way of liberation. She no longer seeks validation in empty places. She doesn't fear walking alone. She's not interested in revenge or proving her worth. Her presence is her proof. Her peace is her rebellion. Her growth is loud in silence. And those who once tried to break her now watch in awe, because she turned every wound into wisdom, every heartbreak into higher ground, and every ending into a powerful beginning. People underestimate the woman who's healing. They expect tears, not fire. They expect collapse, not calm. But healing isn't pretty. It's war. It's staring your demons in the eye and refusing to run. It's choosing to face your own reflection and not look away. It's doing the inner work, even when it's lonely, even when it hurts, even when the world says, move on before you're ready. And when she comes out the other side, she doesn't come back to who she was. She becomes someone stronger, wiser, and more focused than anyone ever expected. The most dangerous woman is not the loudest in the room. She's the calm one, the quiet one, the woman who knows exactly who she is, what she wants, and what's he'll never tolerate again. She's the one who stopped pretending, stopped people-pleasing, and started showing up for herself. You can't manipulate her with guilt. You can't confuse her with lies. You can't shake her with drama, because she's rooted, she's healed, and now she's free. This is not just a story of survival. This is the rebirth of a force. A woman who has healed is no longer a victim of her past. She is the author of her future. And the world, it better be ready. She's been to the edge and came back stronger. You can't scare a woman who's already seen the worst and survived it. She's felt heartbreak so deep it echoed through her bones. She's walked through betrayal, abandonment, loneliness, and she didn't just crawl out of it. She rose. She stood tall when no one thought she could. And that's what makes her dangerous. Not her anger, not her toughness, but the calm that comes from knowing exactly who she is and what she's made of. Pain used to control her. It used to dictate her choices, trap her in cycles of people-pleasing, and silence her truth. But not anymore, because now she's healed. Not perfectly, not without scars, but she's healed in the way that matters. She knows her worth. And when a woman discovers that kind of clarity, she becomes impossible to manipulate. She's no longer triggered by people's opinions. She doesn't seek validation like she used to. She doesn't fall apart when someone leaves. She's built a home inside herself, a safe place that can't be touched by anyone who doesn't deserve access. And that level of self-containment, that's power. When you meet a woman like this, you'll feel it. Her presence carries weight. Her silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. She doesn't react to chaos because she doesn't live in it anymore. She's not here to argue, to explain, or to prove anything. She's already done the inner work. She's cleaned up her emotional house. And now she protects her peace like it's sacred, because it is. People underestimate her because she's calm, because she smiles more, because she doesn't fight the way she used to. But what they don't realize is that peace is earned, that quiet is forged in fire. She's not dangerous because she's vengeful. She's dangerous because she's finally at peace. And nothing is more powerful than a woman who has made peace with her past. She doesn't need revenge. She doesn't need closure. She doesn't even need applause. She's moved on. And that scares people. Because when you've healed, when you've truly done the work to rise from your own ruins, you stop playing small. You stop shrinking to fit into places that no longer serve you. She's dangerous because she's awake now, fully awake, fully alive. And no one, not her past, not her pain, not the people who hurt her, can put her back to sleep. The pain that broke her also rebuilt her. She didn't just wake up one day healed. She had to crawl through every memory, every betrayal, every crack in her heart that once made her question if she'd ever feel whole again. The woman you see today, calm, strong, grounded, was forged in the fire of her own suffering. And no, it wasn't fair, but she turned that pain into power. She's been abandoned by people she thought would never leave. She's been told she was too much and not enough. In the same breath, she's cried silently into her pillow, making sure no one heard because she didn't want to burden anyone. But that pain, it became her teacher. It taught her what love isn't. It taught her that silence isn't always peace. And most of all, it taught her that she didn't need saving. She needed awakening. There were nights she felt like the darkness would swallow her whole, days where she questioned if it was worth it to keep trying. But she didn't quit, even when she had every reason to. She took each heartbreak, each rejection, and used it as a brick to build herself a home, one made not of fear, but of faith. You see, healing isn't pretty. It's not candles and soft music. Sometimes it's rage. Sometimes it's falling apart in the middle of the day with no warning. But she allowed it all. She stopped running from the grief and started sitting with it. And little by little, she began to understand. Her pain wasn't a punishment. It was a path to deeper wisdom, a path to boundaries, a path to finally choosing herself, even when it made others uncomfortable. She learned to stop begging to be chosen. She realized that being ignored wasn't the worst thing. Losing herself while trying to be loved was. That's when the shift began. When she stopped trying to be the version of herself that made others stay and started becoming the version of herself that made her proud. The healed woman you see now didn't just recover. She reinvented. Every scar became a reminder not of defeat, but of survival. And when she looks in the mirror today, she doesn't see damage. She sees a warrior who chose to rise, even when no one was watching. Especially when no one was watching, she redefined her identity on her own terms. There's something profoundly powerful about a woman who no longer defines herself by who left, who doubted her, or who tried to mold her into something she was never meant to be. She stops seeking validation. She doesn't wait to be labeled worthy. She knows she already is. And that knowing, that quiet, unshakable truth becomes the foundation of everything she builds. She used to wear the masks, the one that smiled when she was breaking, the one that agreed just to keep the peace, the one that said, "I'm fine," when everything inside her screamed otherwise. But healing taught her to take off the layers, to stand in her own skin, flaws, scars, softness, and strength, and still feel proud. This woman no longer asks, "Who should I be to fit in?" She asks, "Who am I when I'm free?" And the answer isn't something she found in a book or in someone else's eyes. It's something she fought to remember. Healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the truth of who you've always been before the world told you who to be. She's stopped trying to explain herself to people who were committed to misunderstanding her. She's done dimming her light to make others comfortable. And she no longer chases the version of herself that once felt acceptable to others. Why? Because the healed woman knows. Every time she sacrificed herself to belong, she lost a piece of her soul. No more. She's done apologizing for evolving. She's redefined success for herself. It's no longer tied to titles, relationships, or the perception of others. It's peace. It's waking up without a storm in her chest. It's standing tall even when the world tries to shrink her. It's walking away from what hurts without guilt. That's power. Her identity is no longer tied to her pain. It's shaped by how she rose, how she chose grace over vengeance. She chose growth over comfort, and how she refused to stay small just because that's what someone else could handle. The most dangerous woman isn't the one who shouts. It's the one who has nothing to prove. The one who's tasted her own resilience. The one who walks with purpose because she's finally walking in alignment with who she really is. She doesn't need a spotlight. She is the light. She's not the same woman anymore. And that's her power. She doesn't walk into rooms hoping to be liked anymore. She walks in already knowing who she is. And that changes everything. The woman who once questioned her worth no longer seeks validation. She validates herself. With her actions, with her growth, with her peace. The old version of her would have tried to fix broken things just to feel needed. But not anymore. Now she protects her energy like it's sacred. Because it is. She's not bitter. She's better. Better at knowing what drains her. Better at walking away from people who don't clap when she wins. Better at trusting her gut, because it's never lied to her, even when her heart tried to drown it out. She's learned that peace isn't found in avoiding conflict, but in being unafraid to speak her truth, even when her voice shakes. There's a quiet power in her now, not loud, not boastful, just present. You feel it in her silence. You see it in her eyes. She's seen things, been through things, and survived things that would have broken others. That's why she doesn't chase anymore. Not people, not love, not approval. If it's meant for her, it will align. If not, she releases it without begging. She's done explaining herself. She doesn't shrink to fit places she's outgrown. She doesn't apologize for healing loudly or setting boundaries that protect her softness. And she's not interested in proving anything. Not to the world, not to old versions of herself, not to the people who couldn't see her worth. Her strength is quiet now. No need to scream, no need to prove, just stillness. And in that stillness, there's clarity about who she is, what she wants, and what she'll never tolerate again. She's not afraid to be misunderstood. She knows the right ones will get her without explanation, and the wrong ones, let them go. They were never meant to stay. This versi. On of her, she's not angry anymore. She's focused. She's intentional. She's powerful. Not because of what she's been through, but because of how she chose to respond to it. She's not the same woman anymore. She's wiser, softer in heart, harder to fool, and absolutely unstoppable in her purpose. And if you ask her what changed her, she'll tell you, I finally chose myself. Her silence isn't weakness, it's mastery. There was a time when she felt the need to explain everything, her choices, her boundaries, her pain. She'd sit in conversations, over-explaining herself to people who had no intention of understanding her. She'd defend her heart to those who never earned access to it. She'd try to make peace with people who thrived on chaos, but that version of her no longer exists. Now, she lets her silence speak. It's not because she doesn't have something to say. She's learned that silence, when used wisely, is louder than any argument. It doesn't mean she's defeated. It means she's done. Done wasting energy on trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding her. Done engaging with those who only listen to respond, not to understand. Done proving her worth to people who never deserved her presence. Her silence is power. It's her shield. It's her peace. In her quiet, she's not hiding, she's healing, she's observing, she's choosing where to place her energy with precision. Every word she speaks now is intentional. She doesn't throw her voice into noise that doesn't deserve it. There's strength in not reacting. There's wisdom in knowing which battles are beneath you. She's not quiet because she's afraid. She's quiet because she's elevated. And from this new level, some arguments don't even reach her anymore. She's above it, not out of pride, but because her peace is more valuable than being right. People may call her cold now. Distant, detached, let them. They don't know the storm she weathered to earn this calm. They don't understand the chaos she had to overcome just to sit in this stillness. She doesn't owe them an explanation. Let them wonder. Her silence is not empty. It's full of lessons, full of boundaries, full of growth. She no longer reacts to disrespect. She simply removes herself. She doesn't chase clothes. Sure. She gives it to herself. She doesn't beg for clarity. She becomes the clarity. That's mastery. That's what evolution looks like. Her silence doesn't mean she's given up. It means she's rising. It means she's redirected. It means she's protecting her peace like a warrior, without shouting, without swinging, without losing her balance. She's not the loudest in the room anymore, but she's the one who changed everything just by walking in and choosing not to engage. Because silence, when it comes from strength, is the loudest roar. She redefined power on her own terms. They say a woman who's healed becomes her own force of nature. But what they don't often tell you is that healing rewrites your entire definition of strength. It's no longer about how loud you can be, how many battles you win, or how high you climb. It becomes about how still you can stand in the storm and how grounded you remain when the world tries to uproot you. She no longer fought to be heard, because her silence now echoed louder than anyone's screams. Her boundaries weren't just fences. They were sacred lines carved with intention. She didn't explain her value or justify her worth. She had already done the work in silence, in darkness, in solitude. The validation she once chased, she replaced it with a mirror that reflected a woman she respected, deeply and fiercely. This woman, she didn't flinch when people walked away. She didn't crumble when doors closed or when opportunities slipped past, because she knew something they didn't. Nothing truly meant for her could ever be lost. And nothing temporary could disturb the foundation she had poured her soul into building. You see, the most dangerous woman isn't the one who's loud or aggressive or trying to prove herself. It's the one who has healed and now leads with quiet certainty. She doesn't react, she responds. She doesn't beg, she builds. She doesn't chase love, success, or recognition. She lives in alignment, and everything aligned finds its way to her. She's dangerous not because she intends harm, but because she's finally outgrown every cage the world tried to trap her in. She no longer folds herself to fit others' expectations. She expands, she evolves, she rises, on her own terms, in her own rhythm, without apology. There's an unmatched power in a woman who knows where her peace lives and refuses to leave it behind. She is not desperate for attention, she is driven by purpose. She doesn't gossip, she creates. She doesn't compete, she uplifts. And while others are busy performing strength, she embodies it with grace, precision, and unshakable presence. This is the woman who has turned her pain into wisdom, her heartbreak into fuel, and her scars into art. She doesn't just walk into a room, she shifts its energy. And not because she demands it, but because she's aligned with something far greater than approval. She is her own compass, her own foundation, her own sanctuary, and that makes her unstoppable. She doesn't need to be saved. She became her own rescue. For a long time she waited for someone to come along and see the pain behind her smile, waited for someone to say, "I see you," in a world that often looked right through her. She waited for someone to pick her, to choose her, to fix the mess she didn't create but had to carry anyway. But that version of her, the one who waited, is gone. Because one day she stopped hoping someone would show up to save her. She realized no one was coming. No one was going to understand her the way she needed. No one could crawl inside her mind, clean up the chaos, mend her bruised spirit, and place her back into the world, whole. That was her job. And it was the most terrifying yet liberating realization of her life. She didn't need a savior. She needed a mirror. And in that reflection, she finally saw someone worthy of fighting for, herself. She picked up every broken part, even the ones covered in shame and silence. She learned to soothe the inner child that cried out for love. She held herself during sleepless nights when anxiety clawed at her, and she whispered, "I've got you," until she believed it. This kind of strength, the quiet, steady, personal kind, it doesn't scream. It doesn't beg, it doesn't wave flags, but it builds, slowly, intentionally, unshakably. She learned how to make peace with her past, not because it didn't hurt, but because she refused to let it define her future. She no longer needed someone to tell her she mattered. She woke up every day and chose to matter to herself. She no longer hoped someone would come give her love. She became the source of it, overflowing, undeniable. This woman no longer attaches her worth to who stays or who leaves. She's not afraid of being alone. In fact, solitude became her sanctuary. The noise of the world was replaced by the sound of her own truth. And in that truth, she found something no one could ever take from her, her voice. She became fluent in self-respect. She set standards so high that anything less than honesty and effort couldn't reach her. She didn't harden. She elevated. She didn't close off. She became selective. Her love was still soft, still generous, but now it had boundaries. It had standards. It had strength behind it. Now when people meet her, they feel her energy before she says a word. There's something in her presence, like a storm that learned how to be still, like a fire that knows exactly when to burn and when to warm. She doesn't need to prove anything anymore. The war she fought was never external. It was always within. And she won. Not with vengeance, but with healing. Not by conquering others, but by finally choosing herself. She is her own rescue, and she's not looking back. Her silence is not emptiness, it's power. She no longer feels the need to fill every space with words. She doesn't scramble to explain herself, to justify her choices, or to be understood by those who never made the effort to understand her. Her silence is not submission, it is control, it is clarity. It is a sword she no longer wields out of anger, but holds with grace. A woman who's healed knows that stillness speaks louder than shouting. She doesn't need to win arguments anymore. She lets truth reveal itself in time. People come and go, but her peace stays rooted. She's not trying to impress anyone. She's living for something greater than approval. She's living for freedom, mental, emotional, and spiritual. The world often mistakes a loud woman for strong and a quiet woman for weak. But real power doesn't need an audience. It moves differently. She has become the storm that doesn't need thunder. She has become the mountain that doesn't need to shake. Her healing taught her that her energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. Her silence is where she regathers herself. It's where she sharpens her mind, mends her heart, and listens to her soul. She no longer reacts to provocation because she knows what's worth her time. She's not cold, she's calm. She's not distant, she's deliberate. The days of chaos and confusion are behind her now. She lives by intention. She used to chase peace, thinking it was something outside of her. But now she is the peace. Her boundaries are not walls, they are invitations. Respect them and you may enter. Violate them, and you will not even hear the door close behind you. She doesn't burn bridges anymore. She just walks away and never looks back. Her healed heart is not fragile. It's fierce. She forgave not for them, but for herself. She let go, not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. And in that release, she discovered a new power. The power to be soft without being shattered, to be kind without being used, to be strong without being hard. She no longer fights to prove her worth. She is her own validation. Her existence, her growth, her journey, that's the evidence. She walks into every room knowing she belongs, not because anyone said so, but because she decided so. She stands with unshakable faith, not in others, but in herself. And when she's quiet now, it's not because she's afraid, it's because she's observing, calculating, choosing. Her silence is loaded with wisdom and weighted with strength. If you ever wondered what power looked like, it's her. Calm, centered, healed, and absolutely untouchable. She didn't break down. She broke through. The journey of a healed woman isn't defined by ease, comfort, or applause. It's defined by the quiet strength she had to find within herself when no one else was clapping. It's defined by the nights she cried alone and still got up the next morning, determined not to let the pain win. And now, standing in her power, with wounds that turned into wisdom and scars that became her story, she's not dangerous because she's cruel or ruthless. She's dangerous because she's whole. The world doesn't quite know what to do with a woman who no longer seeks validation, one who doesn't beg to be seen, heard, or chosen because she chose herself. That kind of woman becomes a mirror. She reflects your own insecurities. She challenges your games. She shatters every illusion that said she needed fixing because she already did the work alone, in silence when no one was watching. She is dangerous because she cannot be manipulated with guilt. She knows the cost of peace, and she won't trade it for chaos. She's dangerous because she won't entertain anything that disturbs her soul. Not anymore. She's not interested in convincing people to stay. She has learned to let go, not out of bitterness, but from the grace that healing has gifted her. And her presence? It speaks louder than any words. It carries depth. It carries calm. It carries a fire that doesn't burn everything down, but lights the way for others still walking through the dark. Because now, her mission is bigger than proving her worth. It's about showing others that healing is possible, that no matter what broke you, betrayal, loss, heartbreak, rejection, you can still rise and come back even stronger. The healed woman doesn't waste time on people who drain her. She surrounds herself with energy that honors her journey, not ones that question it. She protects her space like sacred ground, because she knows what it took to reclaim it. So, if you're watching this and you're still healing, keep going. Don't rush it. Don't resent the process. Every tear, every setback, every moment of solitude, it's building you into something powerful. You're becoming the kind of woman the world cannot define or contain. The kind who leads without needing permission. The kind who loves herself enough to walk away when things no longer align. The kind who knows that her worth was never up for debate. The most dangerous woman isn't the loudest in the room. She's the one who knows exactly who she is. And that woman, she's unshakable. So walk with your head high, your heart open, and your boundaries strong. You've already survived the worst. Now it's time to thrive in your power and let the world adjust to your healing.